Okay guys, I want to explain this channel switching section and the solo button here. Let's imagine you've got your favorite amp cranked. I've got a full-on 5150 kind of sound here. And I can channel switch it. I'm on the manual mode at the moment. I can channel switch it to a different amp, which I've got. Of course, it's called Metal Stack in here, which is probably just a kind of a full-on Metal Marshall monster amp. So it sort of sounds like this. So two high gain sounds, and as I hit this amp select button, this is just the channel amp select button on the manual mode, it switches between them, which is very, very cool. So in theory, you could have a clean amp on the A section and a dirty amp on the B section. There's also, when you get in there, when you actually get into the actual amp type, it says preamp speaker amp 5150 drive, that's the 5150 section I'm on. If I go along there, if I go back, I'm back to the actual beginning of it, preamp speaker channel A, channel mode. Channel mode is the key, is a key kind of element to this. It's on single at the moment, which means when I channel switch it, it'll go from the 5150 to the Marshall sound. If I go to channel mode dual mono, what that does is it takes both the Marshall sound and the 5150 and it'll mono it, so you get both amp sounds. So this is both amp sounds. So that's the Marshall and the 5150. If I go along again to the channel mode dual left and right, and that's another really cool feature. What it does is it sticks the Marshall on one side and the 5150 on the other side. So that sounds like this. This is the most difficult setting to show you. It's called the dynamic mode. What that means is you can change the amp you're using from an A to a B channel, or from the A amp to the B amp, by a picking technique. So I'm just going to try and demonstrate this for you. I'm going to clean up the 5150, clean it, make it nice and clean, and keep the other Marshall really dirty, and you should be able to hear the sound change as I pick harder. So you can hear there, you can hear the sound changing just by me kind of picking harder. It's switching from the clean amp to the dirty amp. So there's a good sort of thing to be explored there if you want to check out some dynamics. It's called the dynamic setting. Okay, now let me explain about the solo switch. For each channel, you can have a boost on it for your solo, and you can set the amount of boost you want. So I'm on the 5150 channel. If I click in there, get in there, go along, go to the end, you get to solo level. It says solo level, and I can boost that right up, so that when I click it in, which I've assigned to the control pedal, which I'll show you how to do in a second, you get this boost. So there's the actual level of the amp, and when I'm going to go for a solo, So it's a very, very cool facility. How to get it to this control pedal is you go into the actual control pedal assign here. And if I click on that, it says control pedal function, solo on and off, which is what I've assigned it to. If I just wheel it along, you can see there's plenty of, I can assign this to plenty of things. I can assign the preamp section to change A and B, which I don't need to do because we're in manual mode. And this is the channel switch button here. But I can also assign this to an effects 1 on and off, so I could have that effects 1 coming in and out, or the compressor on and off, which is the compressor coming in and out, or the wah on and off, which would be a good function to have. And I'll show you how to do that later, because you can have the wah clicking in and out, and then on a separate expression pedal, you can do the actual wah movement. So it's simply, you just need to assign this, for the solo button, you need to assign the solo to the control pedal. When you're using these high gain full-on sounds, you know, this 5150 sound I've got. There's a lot of noise involved in between you not playing. I mean, I'm used to kind of just, when I don't play, I whack the volume of the guitar off. But there is a facility in here for a noise gate. It gets rid of the noise in between, and to get to it, you press your master button, and the first thing that comes up is noise suppressor, which is a noise gate. It gets rid of all the excess noise in between you playing. And what I've found, I mean, I'm willing to sacrifice, if I go to threshold, it's at 39 there, I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of noise so it doesn't choke the note. If I hold a note, that's the noise without it. You can hear it noise. And as I kind of move it upwards to closer to 100, around about where 40 is where it's going to cut out. If I carry on up to say 60 or 70, now I know it's going to be dead quiet in between each bit I play, but I'm willing to sacrifice some of that noise so that it doesn't choke the note. And when I mean choke the note, it's if I back the guitar down to, you can hear it choking there. So as I bring it back down again to a less harsh level, I've got those lower settings again. So bear in mind that the noise suppressor can be quite harsh. The factory presets for the noise suppressor can be quite harsh. It doesn't want you to hear all that noise and gain in between, all that hiss. So try and kind of play with that a bit so that you don't choke the actual musicality and dynamic of your own playing. Obviously with high gain stuff, there will be less dynamic and less subtlety. But just bear in mind that the noise suppressor is quite harsh as the factory preset. So overall, let's just recap. There's a whole kind of versatile world you can get into here. You can have a clean amp and a dirty amp at the same time. You can have your favorite amp boosted with the solo switch using the control button. You can have two amps switching between each other. You can have two amps at once. So there's so much to be explored here, and I hope that you've kind of understood the channel mode thing, because that's the key to it, is having what channel mode you're in, whether it's the single, dual mono, dual left and right. And I know it's a bit of a pain, but if you can, just refer to the manual just to double check that you're seeing the signal correctly and hearing the signal correctly. Obviously, this is only if you're kind of running stereo. If you're using two combos, it'll sound really cool. Or it's very, very handy when you're recording. This whole section is very, very important when you're recording, because this is the speaker simulation section. When you go to output select and select line phones, that's when all this becomes speaker simulated. That's when you can record with it. So you could have two amps set at once. It would be great, a great sound. So please explore that whole thing.